I pre-order most of my new comics 2 to 3 months in advance in order to take advantage of the huge discounts. Stay tuned as we open up this box and find out what books I've ordered and what books we're adding to the PC. Welcome back, comic book fans. It's Rusty again with Collector Auctions, and in today's episode, I've got my monthly shipment of new comic books that I pre-order from mnmcomics.com, my preferred subscription service, and we're going to find out what new books were on my list. Now, this is a pretty small box compared to the last order that I got in, so I'm going to be curious to see what books are in here. So give me a moment. I'm actually going to open this off camera. We don't need to film that. I filmed that pretty much the last time, so I'm not going to waste your time, but I'm going to open this up off camera, and I'm going to bag and board every one of the comics in here, so when I put them up here so I can show off the books I've picked up, they won't be damaged. So give me a moment. I'll take some time, we'll open this up, I'll bag and board everything, and then I'll be right back.
One eternity later.
All right, everybody, I opened up the box, I bagged and boarded everything, except for the first item, and it's only because it's super thick. It's the Marvel Free Previews magazine. I'll have to dig out a Silver Age bag and board for this, because I do like to keep the preview magazines as well. You never know when some first appearance might actually be in one of these preview magazines like this. So I've got this right here, and if you haven't seen this, you can pick these up at your LCS mostly. I would imagine most LCSs have these, and it's just a preview of the books that will be coming out 3 months from now. And I use this as well as the DC Connect magazine. It's the same thing from DC to help me go through and see which books I'm going to order. So we got those for free, and we also got a free Comic Book Day Marvel Voices copy right there. I don't think I actually picked that one up on New Comic Book Day or Free Comic Book Day. They did send me a free copy of World's Finest #1, Batman and Superman there. I know I didn't pre-order that. That's not one of the books I would be getting. And then the last free thing that they sent me, here, let's move these down, is Justice League versus the Suicide Squad #1 from DC Rebirth. And this right here is an M&M Comics exclusive. When I opened up the bag with all the comics in it, this was actually on the end, and it had the big M&M logo on the back side of this book here. So that's an exclusive cover from them. I'll have to look it up and see if that actually has any value or not. But all of that was for free. And then let's just get into, let's do DC first. I always start with Marvel. Let's start with DC. I did pick up, actually I got 2 copies of this, The Nice House by the Sea, the new follow-up series from James Tynion for his acclaimed series, Nice House on the Lake. I actually got 2 copies of this because James Tynion's going to end up coming to Third Eye Comics in Annapolis, Maryland for a signing. So I wanted to have a couple copies available when he comes there to get this signed. I probably will plan to get mostly some Batman and some Something's Killing Children books signed while I'm there. So you have to stay tuned for that video. You know I'll put an episode out on that at some point. I did pick up the latest issue of The Flash. This is number 11. This is the let me get it right, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez variant cover here. It is the character design cover for The Flash. And I've talked about this in previous videos. I've been picking up these covers for this, Green Lantern, Green Arrow, Wonder Woman, Batman, Captain Marvel, or Shazam, and Superman. And all the covers are exactly like this for each of these characters. And I'm going to plan on taking them to the Baltimore Comic-Con. We'll see how much it costs for each autograph before I decide to get everything signed. But I think it'd be really cool to have the whole series signed by Jose Luis Garcia Lopez. It's such a mouthful, isn't it? But these are pretty cool. I actually already had a copy of this, but as soon as I'm done with this video, this and some other comics in this order are going to be pulled for future signings coming up. So that's definitely one that I want to take to the Baltimore Comic-Con. This right here is a book that I will save for the next time that she appears at a convention that I might be able to go to. All right, the next book up is actually a book I want to save for a signing at some point. It's the new Santana series. All right, the next book up is also for a signing, hopefully sometime soon. I wasn't able to go down to Heroes Con to get some of the books signed for Jenny Frison, but it doesn't mean I won't add this book to the pile to get signed at some point. It's issue number 2 from Zatanna, the new series. What a beautiful cover right there by Jenny Frison. And the last thing from DC was something I actually picked up at the LCS when it came out new on New Comic Book Day. And I didn't think I had ordered this, but I guess I did. It is Absolute Power Origins number 1 of 3. And it's got that great photo cover right there. And I think I said it at the time of the New Comic Book Day video that this is one that, with these photos covers, I'd love to get that signed at some point. But that was it for DC mostly. We'll revisit DC again, but for a special reason. All right, let's move over to Marvel. And as always, the Marvel pile is always a little bit thicker than the DC pile. We'll start off with the new NYX number 1, and I didn't realize I'd already pre-ordered this. And I got it here, but I actually picked it up at the LCS too. You've got this beautiful X-23 cover by Artgerm, and that's very, very nice. But I also picked up the regular cover as well. And we'll see how long I buy into any of these new X-Men titles. We've got From the Ashes, this Rebirth. We'll see. I think generally I'm not going to enjoy this any more than I enjoyed the previous run on all the X-Men titles. I had given up on all of those. I think it's going to take something really special for me to come back and really enjoy these titles. Guys, go out there and get Jeff Johns, Gary Frank, and Jason Fabok. Put them on the X-Men books. I think it's high time you brought in the A++ talent, not what we're getting these days. Let's see what else we got here. We do have the Ultimate Black Panther number 6, and I keep talking about dropping this, and I think at this point I'm not picking up the Ultimate Black Panther anymore. This is not one that I'm really enjoying at all. I am enjoying the writing on the current run of Captain America. This is issue number 11. This right here was completely a cover by. It is Spider-Gwen, Ghost Spider. This is issue number 3. Of course, you got this great Scotty Young cover right there. And I'm surprised because when it came out on the comic book stand on New Comic Book Day, I did not gravitate towards that. I don't know why. Something must have struck me 2 or 3 months ago that I wanted to get this. Maybe it's just the popularity of Spider-Gwen that made me do this for hopefully a future signing with Scotty Young, because I know a lot of people like Spider-Gwen. Maybe that was my motivation right there. I did pick up the latest issue of Ultimate Spider-Man number 7. This is the regular cover, and I continue to enjoy this series. I actually thumbed through this book, and it seems very interesting. I think you got Checo back on art. So, continuing to enjoy the Ultimate Spider-Man, whereas I am not enjoying the other Ultimate titles really at all. As I said, I'm going to drop Black Panther. I've threatened to drop X-Men, although I keep waiting for something really big to happen. You know what's going to happen. I'm going to drop the title, and then something big is going to happen, and I'll miss out on having that book. I think that's a fear that most of us as collectors have. We may be enjoying a book, or we may not, and we decide to drop it, and then all of a sudden something big happens, and then you missed out on having that at cover price, or less than cover price. Then you have to go out there and buy the book at a premium if you want to get it back in your PC. That's why we don't drop titles most of the time. We're afraid we're going to miss out on something. I did pick up the newest issue of X-Force number 1, just a regular cover. We've got the 5th and final issue of Blood Hunt number 5, and this had already been spoiled to me that Doom becomes the new Sorcerer Supreme in this. Not surprised. They've flirted with Doom being the Sorcerer Supreme for many years, so didn't really enjoy this series. I think vampires are overdone. I don't know. I don't dig it. Maybe vampires are an easy trope or something, but the Blood Hunt Red Band series was a little bit more interesting with some of the new graphics and some of those homage covers to EC Comics. Those were pretty cool, but generally not really much of a fan, but as a collector, I wanted to play this out. I did get the latest issue of Spider-Man, number 54. This is just the regular cover. I had dropped the Immortal Thor, although the Alex Ross covers have been fantastic. I haven't really gotten into the new Thor series, but whenever Walt Simonson comes back and he does a variant cover as good as this right here, I'm going to pick this up each and every day. He's also going to be at Baltimore Comic-Con. I may take this one to actually have it signed. That'd be pretty cool. I actually have some Thor 337s that I've cleaned and pressed. I may take those as well. I don't know if I want to get them CGC'd or just signed, but we'll find out about that when we get closer to the Baltimore Comic-Con. And then continuing with Marvel, I did pick up issue number 1 of Phoenix. I can't say I'm much fan of, like I said, a lot of the X-Men titles, but this was a new number 1. I've always enjoyed Phoenix. I kind of did this more out of curiosity to see what they were going to do with the character. This is a series I probably will not continue with. And I spoke about it before. Here's 5th issue of X-Men, Ultimate X-Men number 5. Again, I'm waiting for something really big to happen. I keep threatening to drop it, like I said, but I may hold on to it, hoping that we actually get something big that means something for the Ultimate Universe, which it just doesn't feel like it's the same, has anything to do with what's going on with the Ultimates or Ultimate Spider-Man whatsoever. And then the last thing from Marvel was a Scrooge book. It is a second printing, though, because I wanted to get this as another cover for Uncle Scrooge and the Infinity Dime. I'm not sure who did the art on that, but it was the second printing. I want to go ahead and pick that up. All right, so that brings us to the independent books that I picked up. I did get the 5th issue of Feral from Tony Fleecs and Trish Foistner. I'm probably dropping this title. I thought this was going to be another mini-series like Stray Dogs, but I think it's going to be an ongoing. And to be honest with you, I don't have an interest in a prolonged story with this right here. Interestingly enough, I just saw that they were announced to be doing a signing with CGC, so that's pretty cool. I wonder how many Stray Dog books are actually going to go in for that. Be honest, most of my Stray Dog books that I've gotten signed by both of them over the last couple of years. So I could always send it in and have it CGC'd and verified, but I'd have to actually see if I have any Stray Dog books left to actually get signed at this point. I'm sure I've got a few in there. I did pick up the latest issue of Something's Killing the Children, number 39. Just a regular cover. I think I picked up the Jenny Frison variant to this in one of my new Comic Book Day videos. That was pretty cool. That's another one of those Jenny Frisons that's going to get put aside. I hadn't really wanted to get a lot of the Jenny Frison covers from Something's Killing Children, with the exception of the very first issue. But this cover for this issue right here, not this book right here, but the Jenny Frison one's very nice. I might have to save that for a signing with her at some point too. My favorite book by far each and every month, and it's the first book I read each and every month. In fact, sometimes I don't even get through bagging and boarding these without stopping and reading the book. Although I didn't read it this time, I thumbed through it though. Was the latest issue of Usagi Yojimbo. This is issue number 4 or 5. It's the Crow. There's a storyline, and there's the regular cover. And not often do I do this unless it's an artist I really like, but I did pick up the David Nakayama cover as well. So that's pretty cool. That's something I might save if I actually see him again at a signing in person. I wouldn't send it in for a CGC signing, but if I see him again, like he was at HeroesCon back in 2023, that would be a book I might be interested in just having him sign it. I did pick up the latest issue the first issue of Witchblade, and in fact, I had picked this up at the LCS on New Comic Book Day. I didn't realize that, but I had pre-ordered that as well. And speaking of David Nakayama, I did pick up the first issue of Gargoyles here with the cover from him. And then very last independent here was from, I guess it's a throwback, but EC Comics. It is Epitus from Epitaphs from the Abyss. And these have been kind of interesting, some of the books that have been coming out. If nothing else, the covers are really cool, and it's a real nice throwback to the old EC horror books. But that was it for the independents, and then the only thing left for the books that I pre-ordered for this month, and like I said, this is 2 to 3 months ago that I put these in, was some of the facsimiles. So I did get the facsimile for Wolverine number 88, the first meeting of Deadpool and Wolverine. I had this in my PC. I was collecting Wolverine at the time, and it was one of the books I pulled out and sent to CGC, and it was before I cleaned and pressed my books, but I thought that I had stored that book and kept it in really great shape, and it turns out I got that 9.8 without doing anything to it, and that was a book I sold several years ago at this point, so it's not on my PC anymore, but I do now have the facsimile. I did pick up 2 copies of Justice League of America, the facsimile to issue number 1. And you've got one of the favorite villains, the Sparrow. It's the Sparrow, right? It is the Sparrow. Hang on. Now, I did pick up 2 copies of this. This is Justice League of America number 1, the facsimile. And in issue number 1 here, you've got, I believe it's the first appearance of Despero, which is one of my favorite Justice League of America villains. I didn't care for him much early like this, but I love what they did with him years later when J.M. DeMatteis and I love what they did. And I did pick up 2 copies of Justice League of America number 1, the facsimile here, featuring one of my favorite DC villains, Despero. Although I didn't really care for this early on, I really like what they did with the character many years later when J.M. DeMatteis was writing, and you had Adam Hughes on the Justice League book, and it was years after the original Justice League book finally shut down. You had Justice League Detroit, and that book ended. And when they had restarted the book, and you got up to, I want to say in the 20s and in the 30s, I think you had Adam Hughes doing the artwork. I cannot remember the issue numbers, but Despero came back, and he came back and he ended up killing Gypsy's family. You had Martian Manhunter returned to take him on, and Despero at that point still had the same powers, but he was a brutal Hulk at this point. He was an absolute beast of a monster, and just terrifying. And I love that. I've gotten those books signed by Adam Hughes back before he was doing his classic AH exclamation point autograph. It was a full Adam Hughes autograph, and J.M. DeMatteis and Giffen, oh my God, the Justice League of America artist, and God, I can't remember his name now, but when they were all working, I've gotten all those guys to sign. Joe Rubinstein actually, I think, did some of the inking on some of those books, but that character right there is one of my favorites. I love what they did with him years later. I did pick up the facsimile to 258 for Spider-Man, and Marvel's been doing facsimiles in all these issues in the 250s. Of course, they did 252, the first black costume, and then they've done facsimiles ever since, and they keep going up. I don't know where they're going to stop, but I've complained that some of those issues in there aren't really worthy of having a facsimile. But this one actually is, because it is a key comic. You've got the first time they find out that the symbiote is actually alive. It's a live organism, and it separates from Peter. And then you've got the classic Peter Parker in the Fantastic Four uniform, and Johnny Storm gives him the paper bag. Was it the Amazing Bag Man? Is that what it was called? I cannot remember what they called him in that. But this was a pretty good key, and this is a book, if you've got the original 9.8 on that, it's a pretty valuable book. And I've got one in the PC that's actually listed on eBay right now. But as a 9.8, that's a pretty good book. And that is a tough book. It is, this spine over here is really weird. That charcoal background makes it really hard to find those spine ticks when you're getting ready to submit to CGC. But trust me, CGC will find them. But it's really hard to inspect your book to be able to send out. But I've had some good success sending that in, the original. And then the last book for today, and the last facsimile, is one of my favorite books. It is Tales of the Teen Titans, number 44. This is when the title had changed from New Teen Titans. And it is the first appearance of Dick Grayson as Nightwing. And you also get the origin of Deathstroke, the Terminator, and of course his son Jericho as well, which nobody cares about personally. But this is a great book. I've actually got a raw copy of this signed by both Marv Wolfman and George Perez. It's got a little bit of wear. There's some spine ticks. This black cover over here is really tough. And the original comic would pick up spine ticks really easy. So that book is not a candidate for grading, but it is a great thing to have in my PC. I think I've talked about it on one of my videos when I talk about collecting autographs from the creators as one of my favorite things in the hobby. I don't remember which episode that was, but I've done several of those. But that was a book I definitely talked about, really enjoying having in my PC. All right, guys, so that is it. That is all the new comics that I pre-ordered 2 to 3 months ago. What I didn't pre-order, we'll find out in the upcoming New Comic Book Days that I go to. That is what I use New Comic Book Days at my LCS to do, is to go find the books that I didn't pre-order with this order right here. And that's always fun because there's things that I miss that just were not on my radar, and variant covers that were not really advertised much in the previews, either in the magazine or on the website. And so that is it, guys. That is all the new comic books that I pre-ordered for this month. We will find out in the upcoming New Comic Book Day videos which new comics I failed to pre-order with this order, and we'll see those in the New Comic Book Day episodes as they come out each and every week. So it'll be interesting to see what was not on my radar at that time, and we'll talk about that in those episodes. But guys, if you like this kind of content, definitely hit that like, slap the subscribe, and click on the notification bell so you don't miss out on any of the episodes that I put out each and every week, Mondays and Fridays at 3 p.m. with pop-up shows on Wednesdays. Thanks, guys, for being here today. Definitely leave me a comment in the comment section. Let me know what you think about the books I picked up. So that's it, guys. I'm out of here. Take care, and remember, every comic has a story.